giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Oh yeah, baby. Coming up today, we have the most electrifying mailbag segment in all of sports entertainment, and we're going to be joined by one of the most electrifying sports writers in the land. Going to break down 4 pretty damn good questions you guys sent me over on Twitter, here on YouTube, and we'll have some fun with that. Being joined by our guy Patrick No C Walker of DallasCowboys.com. So make sure y'all stick around for that, man. There is no more electrifying segment. Forget just mailbag. Segment in the sports world. What's good with you, Bomb Squad? How are we doing, man?
Bomb Squad!
How is everybody on this Thursday, which is my Friday? Because remember, won't be here tomorrow. I will be traveling to the East Coast briefly, but I will be right on back. Not a whole lot going on since the NBA Finals have ended, but a little bit of news for the Cowboys in the roundup. I started to hold off on this until we got to the roundup. This is the Cowboys free agency period, ain't it? I'm starting to, figure that thing out. This part right here with this whole UFL, XFL, USFL thing is the real Cowboys free agency. So let's go ahead, let's talk about it and get into this roundup. We got some news for you.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you!
Hey, I appreciate that. I truly do appreciate that. Hallelujah. This is now year 3, or 3 years in a row, I should say, that the Dallas Cowboys have went to the UFL and I got you. one second, Pat. Have went to the UFL and signed a player. Now, 2 years in a row, they've gotten Pro Bowl players out of it. All pro, dare I say. The Dallas Cowboys have signed linebacker Willie Harvey Jr. We talked about that briefly the other day when it happened during the show. And shout out to my guy, John Oning. He dropped a pretty good scouting report on him. I'll read some of it briefly. I won't read the whole thing, just some of it. He said, undersized linebacker who measures at 5'11", 230, 30.5-inch arms. Good athlete who has shown some promise in a couple areas. Displayed notable improvements rushing the passer in recent years. Says he's at his best when he can play off on the edge of blocks, given his size. Not a surprise. He often gets moved when taking on blocks square. Not a slow processor by any means, but he still needs to speed up his process to get to his run fits before a blocker can meet him square. Could see him playing Sam or Will. If you want to see the full breakdown, head on over to Twitter. Type in John Oning. You will find his breakdown on Willie Harvey Jr., a.k.a. the Assassin, because that is an assassin name. You know how I feel about that. They also signed cornerback Garyon Conley, which they worked out the other day. I feel like they worked him out a couple years ago, too. I can't quite remember. But quickly, Conley hasn't played in the league since 2019, and he only played from 2017 to 2019. 31 games, like 4 interceptions or so. His last snap was, though, a long time ago. So this will be interesting. I was all for bringing in a veteran cornerback. Would have liked it to be Gilly. Maybe that's still there. We'll see. But they did so, and we'll see if Garyon Conley can make some noise at camp. We'll see if Willie Harvey Jr. can make some noise as well. I was for the signing of a linebacker. I definitely wanted to add another guy in that room because it's a young room outside of Kendricks and Damian Wilson, who I don't know if he's going to make the roster. But I think they needed to add another young veteran. Let me say that. It doesn't have to be a 35-year-old, but somebody that's been around the block. And Willie Harvey Jr. has been around the block since 2019. But wait, there's more. Per Tom Pelissero, UFL standout defensive end Jonathan Garvin, who previously played 3 seasons in Green Bay, is working out for the Cowboys per his agency. 24 years old, coming off a productive season in the UFL with the UFL champion Birmingham Stallions. So there you have it. The Cowboys are dipping their toes back in the free agency pool. Cowboys, the UFL free agency pool, something that they've done over the years. And I want to ask our guy, Pat, about that as we get into the scientific method, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, my good brother. How we feeling?
Good morning, my good brother. I'm good, man. Happy belated Juneteenth.
Yes, indeed. Happy belated Juneteenth. And our guy K-Dot brought that thing in with a bang, didn't he?
Yeah, man. Oh boy, that's how you dance on the grave. But it's still, that's how you make everybody else dance on the grave
Facts.
with you. So that just legendary show, man. Legendary show by Kung Fu Kenny. I can't get enough. I'm gonna have to rewatch that as soon as it redrops.
Facts. I have to because I was in and out of it. And shouts out to social media.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you guys kept me up to breast about it, but dealing with the newborn is kind of tough to be, all the way locked in.
Respect. I get that. Been there, done that, and I don't know, maybe one day be there again. Who knows?
Oh, wait a minute. Breaking news. Where's my breaking news button at?
Not quite. Let me say it this way. As of this moment, nothing is imminent. First source with knowledge of the situation.
Spoken like a true journalist. Let's get down to business here, though, Pat. Look, I wanted to do this mailbag segment again because I thought it was fantastic bringing you in on this. I think it's fantastic bringing you in on this whole thing. The fans get a chance to ask you questions. We get a chance to go back and forth. And we got some really good ones. So you ready to lock in?
Hey, man, fire away. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's time. It is time for
The most electrifying move! All right, scumbag, pay attention. It's time for mail call.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. Yes, we do. Man, that gets me hype. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Listen, man, promo and production skills are just, that's K-Dot level right there is what that is.
All right, Pat, let's go to Twitter. Our guy Gosu on Twitter, he has a couple questions. We'll start with the fairly easy one to me. Question 1, which group is worst? The running back room or the defensive line room?
Man, that is a fantastic question because both rooms need to prove themselves in a very big way in Oxnard training camp this year. That being said, you're more deficient of bodies and talent at the defensive line as far as the interior of the defensive line is concerned. I mean, you can even look at the ends and talk about depth because you lost Dante Fowler and you lost Dorrance Armstrong. Both followed Dan Quinn to the Washington Commanders. You have Sam Williams there, but you need him to step up in a major way, have a breakout year in year 3. So there's a question mark there. Not on ability, but it just simply will he do it? You got to figure out if Junior Fehoko is going to be able to contribute this year. He did not contribute last year as a rookie, 4th round pick. Osa Odigizua is going to be Osa Odigizua. Mozzie Smith, obviously the headline situation there as he tries to put weight back on for Mike Zimmer and what Mike Zimmer wants him to be, which is that definitive one tech that he was at Michigan, which is exactly what Zimmer said. But behind them, I mean, is Chauncey Golston going to have a breakout year? In a contract year, you don't know. Question mark there. And the list goes on and on as far as trying to figure some things out. You got Justin Rogers, who you brought in the NFL draft. I like what he brings to the table. However, he is a late-round pick, so there's going to be quite an uphill battle for him to go from being a late-round pick to challenging Mazi Smith. At best, he can challenge Chauncey Golston when Golston is not doing those, 1 and 2 tech roles. But too many questions on the defensive line that far outweigh what you got going on in the running back room. At least in the running back room, even if you don't necessarily like the setup, you can't say you don't have enough there where it makes you feel at least okay going to the training camp trying to figure out who can beat out who. And then if it doesn't work out, then you could probably make a trade, or maybe you could sign one of these UFL running backs since the Cowboys are swimming in that pool. But between Zeke and Rico leading the charge, Hunter Lipke, you got to figure out what you're doing with Deuce Vaughn. Snoop Connor, Royce Freeman was an addition. Nathaniel Pete, undrafted free agent out of Missouri. So you have a ton. Malik Davis, obviously, let me not forget him. You have a ton of bodies. I mean, counting Hunter Lipke, you have 8. Yeah. 8 backs. If you look at the defensive line room, how many interior defensive linemen do you have that, as we have this conversation, you feel can actually impact the game? So I'm going to go with defensive line.
That is so interesting because if you look at Micah and D-Law, you say, hey, Micah, D-Law, and then you look at the running back room, I think you think, yeah, defensive line, because you got an all-pro and you got, in my opinion, he was a Pro Bowl player last year, and he's still playing at a high level. But the problem is it tails off after that, right? You look at the defensive tackle room, just like you said,
yep.
It's not only unproven, it's extremely thin, razor thin. And then behind Micah and D-Law, there are question marks. We talked about this the other day, Pat, when we looked at the edge room. Yes, I love the prospects of Marshawn Leland. We know that the talent is there for Sam Williams, but we have to wait and see with Marshawn. And then obviously Sam, who was in the doghouse, it felt like last year a little bit. Can he be the de facto 6th man and do it consistently week in and week out? So there's a ton of question marks outside of your top 2 guys. And that's why this is interesting, because you still got 2 top guys. Where in the running back room, I don't know if you got that. I feel like there's question marks from top to bottom as opposed to bottom per se for the D-line room, if that makes sense.
It does, and it's interesting because, like you said, and to be clear, the running back room does not have what the defensive line room has as far as like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. You don't have that. You don't have a perennial first-team All-Pro, and as we have this conversation, a perennial front-runner for Defensive Player of the Year and a perennial Pro Bowler in DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, you don't have that caliber of player in the running back room, because I think the Pro Bowl years are behind Ezekiel Elliott. Rico Dowdle's not, sniffed the Pro Bowl. He has the ability, but he's just not been able to piece it together. That also goes to the rep splits and everything. But you can make all these conversations about, why this or why that or why not this, why not that. Bottom line is the defensive line room only has those 2 aces, and then what do you have after that? Versus the running back room, who has no aces, but, you got like 8, 10. Right? And so as far as cards are concerned, so it's like, you have to wonder. And here's what also proves my point. If the Cowboys were so confident, or so much more confident in the defensive line room than the running backs room, as they're working out and signing you sign a linebacker, you sign a cornerback in Conley, you haven't even worked out, as we have this conversation still, a running back.
Yeah.
However, per Tom Pelissero, and I can confirm this is true, Jonathan Garvin, right? As you mentioned, defensive end, UFL champion, Birmingham Stallions. They're working out a defensive lineman, but not a running back. So I think that goes to the point. They understand that behind Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence, and I love what Marshawn Leland brings to the table, and I feel like he's going to be an impact player as early as maybe the middle of year 1. However, he's still a rookie, has the learning curve, and traditionally, now obviously there are exceptions to the rule, but traditionally, you're going to have to give a defensive lineman a couple of years before they really start wrecking shop.
No, that's all fair, and that's why it's a great question, and maybe we'll get some more answers as we move forward, because you talk about guys that they aren't signing. You mentioned running backs. I'm surprised they are not signing or working out a defensive tackle. That still baffles me, and I know it's a bunch of time, Pat, but that one there, it just has my head exploding.
Yeah, and I understand that 100%. And I think they first want to see, what Mazi Smith and what the Mazi Smith-Justin Rogers combo looks like in training camp. So a lot of this is kind of play it by ear because if you think about it, there are guys like, and I put this name out there weeks ago, Linval Joseph, for example, who has a direct connection to guys like Eric Hendricks and Mike Zimmer. Those types of guys are mercenaries who want nothing to do with off-season program. Nothing. Okay? I really wish that they had looked at Calais Campbell, who is now, with the Miami Dolphins. So Campbell is off the board, but Joseph is still very much on the board, and I think that he's still very much in play. But I think first they want to see what happens in camp with the defensive tackle position before they not necessarily make a move on Joseph, but before they, put a price point to a guy like Linval Joseph. And then from Joseph's standpoint, like I said, at his age, although extremely effective, he no longer needs to prove anything in anybody's, OTAs, mini camp, or even training camp. So those are going to be guys that I feel could still be available for you midway through training camp. So if you're going to make a decision, then they are waiting for you.
All right, let's get to question number 2. And this one, I've got a long, detailed answer, so I'll let you go first. And this comes from the same guy on Twitter. He says, question number 2, do you believe Mike McCarthy can improve his play calling skills during high-pressure situations in 2024, Pat?
Absolutely. And the reason I say that is because I want everyone to keep in mind, and I actually, shameless plug, I penned a piece about this in the training camp, the Dallas Cowboys training camp magazine that'll be published here in the next week or two. It's the Science Lab feature, actually. It's what can the Cowboys offense look like in year 2 under Mike McCarthy? And I stress that it's year 2. So in year 1 of Mike McCarthy taking over play calling duties for the Dallas Cowboys, what did you get? You got CeeDee Lamb breaking records, several of them. Gloves being sent to the, to Canton, to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You got Dak Prescott, his very first All-Pro nod. You got him ending as runner-up for NFL MVP behind only Lamar Jackson. You did all of this. You finally got Brandon Cooks involved, and you started to see that transpire over the course of the second half of the season. You see Jalen Tolbert taking strides. You saw an undrafted or former seventh-round pick, and Jalen Brooks come in when he got his opportunity and immediately make impact. So all of this was happening. The number 1 offense in the league, NFL MVP runner-up and All-Pro in the quarterback, another All-Pro nod for your wide receiver 1 who also set records thanks to the offense and your All-Pro quarterback. And you mean to tell me you did all of this your first go-around with a shaky offensive line and virtually no run game? Now, you toss in, and we'll see where it goes as far as how quickly Tyler Guyton can be plopped in at left tackle. Infinite confidence in him because of his work ethic and definitely his size. He has the mindset, he has the work ethic, he has the size. I think he'll be more than okay. Cooper Beebe, I think, is more ready to take over that center role. But you upgrade your offensive line, and even though people don't believe that it's an upgrade in bringing Zeke back, it's an upgrade over not having Zeke.
At the very least, in the red zone,
right?
On the goal line.
That's what I mean. It's an upgrade over not having Zeke. And that's how people need to view it. So if you even look at it as a remote stability upgrade at running back and an upgrade at the offensive line and another year under McCarthy's system, which when I talked to Dak about it, I talked to Brandon Cooks about it. And the question I asked them was, and I even asked Mike McCarthy about it in the press conference and in the walk-off, I said, hey, where are you guys at now versus this time last year? And he said, well, all 3 of them said the same thing. They said, but this time last year is all about heavy install.
That.
How do we want to, we kept the language, most of the language from Kellen Moore's playbook, but we had to install how I wanted to run it. Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks, they mirrored that by basically saying, oh, well, we're not really doing installs right now as much as we're just doing game review, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's comfortable, it's muscle memory, and now everybody really knows what their role is in this offense. And then, again, you could argue that you want a better upgrade to the running back room than Zeke, but guess what? Zeke comes back knowing the playbook for the most part, knowing the tendencies of the quarterback, knowing, how to run behind Zach Martin and Terrence Steele. So there's familiarity there. So I say all of that in a long-winded way to say there's no reason why this offense shouldn't take another step forward in year 2 under Mike McCarthy. There's too much evidence to point to that fact.
All great, a great analysis there, and I do think it can take a step forward. Where I'm gonna focus on though is our guy saying the higher pressure situations, and I'm going to just assume he means like playoffs, right? Because yeah, you can have high pressure games during the regular season.
I thought he was talking situational football. Okay, we're talking the actual.
I think
post versus regular.
That's actually that you can say high pressure situational too. You can absolutely do that. And the reason why I'm just trying to cheat in here because during the regular season, it seems like McCarthy is into this kind of phase, right? Hey, we're in the first trimester, right? So we're in week 5, week 6. We're not rolling out everything. So you'll get into a situation where you play San Fran in week 5, but you're not rolling out everything. So it's hard to really judge you. So I'm just going to take all of 2024 and say, all right, you did what you did. Let's get to the playoffs. Can you be better there? And that's where my mind started thinking. He can be better if the preparation improves, because I feel like it's a fair question. It's fair to question, I should say, this team under Mike McCarthy and its preparation in the 3 playoff losses. Follow me. That first year, you remember 2021, he admitted this team was feeling nervous. He was trying to get them going. Meanwhile, San Francisco's coming out the Gremlin, with the boombox and Kodak Black. They had no nerves. And that's probably because they felt confident in their preparation. And what goes on to happen in those high-pressure moments, the Cowboys can't get it done, even though it was a close game. Go to the second year, 2022. The preparation actually looked good in the wild card round. And not because they got out to a fast start, Pat, but because they were able to overcome that slow start. Remember, it was 2 3-and-outs to start that game, and they put on a rout with 3 straight touchdowns. They had some counters to what was going on the other side of the ball. They did play Tampa Bay earlier in that year, so I felt like they were more confident in their preparation. Then what happens the next week? They go into San Francisco, clearly not confident playing that team. They come out slow. They deal with more adversity, losing their running back. They have no counter to it. And the same thing from 2021 essentially happens. And then finally, fast forward to the Packers game, the first one under Mike McCarthy calling plays, and you saw almost immediately they were out of sorts. The head coach is on the sideline throwing a hissy fit. You're going to your receiver needs counseling, your quarterback and your receiver are on the same. Everything was off, and I felt like because they were not prepared. So I say all that to say, if they are better prepared, yeah, I think the flow and the play calling during these high-pressure situations, yeah, they'll be better. If not, it'll be the same old same, Pat.
And you know what? I don't disagree, and I'll add on one point to that. If you look at the McCarthy's return to Green Bay, okay, after that game, even though that's the game the Cowboys could have won, even though they ended up losing another starting cornerback, had already lost Jordan Lewis, Kelvin Joseph gets absolutely cooked because, hey, you know the vibes.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at after the game, allowing Aaron Rodgers to mount that comeback, days after, when Mike McCarthy calmed down, he admitted that he might have put too much pressure on that particular game and too much of the mentality on trying to win that one for coach. We got to have it. We got to have it. We got to have it instead of playing more loosely. I think that is something that permeates some of the ones that you're talking about, be it, going out to San Francisco, be it the Green Bay Packers coming to AT&T Stadium where it's just like, oh, well, we're supposed to beat them. So there's anxiety about messing up because the last time they were here, and then look what happened in San Francisco. So I think it goes to not necessarily physical preparation. I think the physical preparation is absolutely there. You see that time and again. But when it comes to the high-pressure situations, I think it's a mentality thing. And I think McCarthy, and he's shown signs of self-awareness in this capacity, he needs to understand that how you approach the game mentally as a head coach is how your players are going to approach the game mentally as a head coach. And then when it comes to schematics, the slow starts just simply cannot happen.
Yeah.
And now they would have been forgivable, and the Cowboys could have still won the game in January against the Packers if Dan Quinn's defense doesn't wet the bed, just absolutely wet the bed and then rolled around in their own urine. Now that combined with a slow start from your offense, which finally did get going, to McCarthy's credit. But you can't have both things happening, right? You can't have your defense just, making a mess of things, and then your offense can't counterpunch. So for Mike McCarthy's offense, which is what we're speaking about, we'll see how Mike Zimmer's defense looks in Dallas. But for Mike McCarthy's offense, if we're talking playoff versus regular season, if we're talking about certain types of high pressure situations wherein, the physical prep has been great all week, but the mental is where you get let down in the first 2 or 3 series. That does need to improve, but I do believe it can improve. But will it improve? We'll find out.
Hey, you touched on there briefly the defensive side. I know we're talking about McCarthy, and I understand that was the question, but they weren't prepared mentally or X's and O's wise on that other side of the ball.
Not at all.
No. And you heard Micah bring it up. You heard Wanye Thomas say, man, once I think it was the first possession after the penalty or what have you, and they went down and scored when they got off to a decent start. And Wanye's like, man, we felt like they had an answer to everything we were doing. They were mentally not exhausted, but they just felt like they had nothing that they could, respond with. And that clearly showed because those guys were all out of sorts. So I know we're talking offense, but they weren't even prepared defensively. So you can't be not prepared on both sides of the ball mentally and from an X and O standpoint and expect to come away with a victory. Can't do it.
That's our point. And, as much good as Dan Quinn did prior to that game in his career with the Cowboys, that game, it was just not it. It was obviously the worst showing, not only from most of his players, but, it starts at the top. And the Cowboys defense just was ill-prepared to counter, punch, and counteract things that the Packers had figured out and Matt LaFleur had figured out. And, unfortunately, it resulted in just touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And it's just like, what can you do at that point? It was just deflating morally. And me sitting in the press box, I was sitting there in real time feeling the air get sucked out of the roof of that stadium. Now, when you flip the page and you look at Mike Zimmer, you look at those two styles of scheme and schematic, Dan Quinn, while he was able to get creative, and you talk about Micah playing zero tech sometimes and things like that, didn't do a ton of disguises. And that made it more, not easy, but easier for opposing offenses to kind of figure things out if they really dove into the film, as Matt LaFleur did, keeping in mind that Matt LaFleur is an offensive coach, right? He's an offensive-minded coach, so he knows how to dissect defenses. Now you have a guy like Matt LaFleur and some of the other offensive-minded coaches in the league going up against Mike Zimmer, who is not only proven at the NFL level, has a Super Bowl ring with the Cowboys as a D coordinator, et cetera, et cetera. You have to look at the fact that he's the OG of the blitz bluff, right? Are they coming? Or are they dropping
simulated
back?
Pressure,
back? Simulated pressure. You can't really figure it out, and because you can't really figure it out, it makes it that much more difficult for you to stick with your called play and not, get anxious and audible out of it or hot route out of it. It's designed to make you uncomfortable. And in Zimmer, and that's where I think the Cowboys will benefit defensively going forward, in addition to the fact that Zimmer absolutely demands his linebackers and his defensive linemen, more specifically his defensive tackles, to play at a high level. So, that's something that we'll see how it impacts the Cowboys going forward. I believe it'll impact them positively, but you're talking about mental preparation. We were talking about it, McCarthy, on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I have virtually zero concerns about Mike Zimmer having his defense mentally prepared for high pressure situations. Now, what they do execution-wise or don't do execution-wise, that's on the individual player. But as far as preparation goes, you are hard-pressed to find many that are better in the NFL or at any level in football than Mike Zimmer as far as getting your guys mentally ready to go kick some ass.
To continue this sidebar conversation about Zim, we were looking at some film the other day for how he counters teams in disguise, and he uses his safeties often, and that's just something that Dan didn't do, right? You talked about disguising, but he didn't use his safeties to disguise. He didn't use his linebackers to disguise.
Right.
And, if you go look at Mike Zimmer's time in Minnesota, these things worked particularly against this style of offense. And I'm talking about the McVays of the world, the LaFleurs of the world. The reason why they can come out and be so confident is because, like you said, if the safety is going to be here the whole time, that's why you can see Jordan Love go to line of scrimmage, audible, and get into a better play. That's why I'm a LaFleur, and you hear Jones say, "Hey man, these dudes is front runners. We're not scared of this defense because we know that they're going to be in this specific spot and they're going to call these quote same three type of plays. And if something does go awry, unfortunately, Dan Quinn's in the booth. He can't do anything on the sideline. Mike Zimmer is going to be on that sideline to correct anything on the sideline. Anything that goes down, he's going to try to have a counter because those guys are going to be reporting back to him. So I really do look forward to the cat and mouse game that goes on with Zim.
And you bring up an excellent point when it comes to booth versus the sideline. And there are pros and cons to both. Obviously, booth, con, you're not in the thick of it. You can't just pull a player to the side and coach in real time that particular player and talk to a particular position group about what you're seeing in real time because everything has to come through the headphones from the booth. But then the pro of being in the booth is you get the bird's eye view. You get the all-22 view, the real-life version of the all-22 view. So there's the pro. But Mike Zimmer doesn't care about that. Mike Zimmer wants to be on the sideline, and he was asked about it, and he said it specifically. He said, I want to be able to congratulate guys when they come off the field for making an excellent play, and I want to be able to get at guys more or less when they're not doing the right thing. And that type of energy is lost when, okay, let's say Mike Zimmer's in the booth and player X doesn't run the right coverage route for a particular play or, doesn't run through the receiver's break or something like that and cost the Cowboys what could have been a potential takeaway. Well, there's a different type of energy from when your mom calls you from work and tells you that you're in trouble versus you getting home and she's right there at the front door waiting to give you that smoke. Mike Zimmer is going to be at the front door when you get home from school waiting to give you that smoke. He's not calling you from work, giving you a warning, telling you that, oh, well, when I get home, you're in trouble. No. When you come off that field, you're already home. He's right there waiting for you. So I think that's a massive dynamic change that will work in favor for the Cowboys, and I'm actually glad you brought that up.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the times when that literally happened.
Because you know how that feels. Because flashback. That's what I'm saying.
Bro,
that's why you laughing.
I'm thinking about the times, man, where I had to pretend I was asleep. When my mom got home, so I don't get that ass whooping. But man,
and you still got that belt though. You still got that belt. Got woke up with it. Trust me, people. Different times we caught them hands.
Boy, did we?
So yeah, I had a PTSD moment myself.
Hands and whatever else was around them.
Yeah, hands, belt, switch, and if you're in the South, you know what a switch is. So, yeah, I'm leaving it like that. Well, actually, statute of limitations is gone. So, love me, mama, they can't do nothing to you now. But it obviously worked. I'm here. I'm talking to Steele. I'm on Scientific Method. People listening. So, that ass whooping actually, it worked.
It worked for us. Let's get to question number 3. This comes from A.A. Ron. It's on Twitter, but he's often here in the chat. Shouts out to him. He says, scenario for if Dak leaves. D-Law and Martin also aren't here for 2025, assuming they don't resign. CD and Micah, he says, are quiet, non-vocal leaders. His question, who becomes the vocal leader on the Cowboys, and is it a problem?
As we have this conversation, I could see it being a concern. And when you shot me this question in the rundown, I really had to pause and think for a second. And the fact that I had to pause and think for a second does not sit well with me. Because no name immediately popped up in my head. Now, eventually a name did, and when it popped up in my head, I was like, that's the one. But it shouldn't have taken that long for me to cycle through the roster and see who it is. But I think it actually is 2 names because another one just popped up as we're having this conversation. The first one is Tyler Smith.
No.
I think Tyler Smith is 100% that guy. I think Tyler Smith is 100% the guy who's going to be willing to challenge the entirety of the locker room to be better on a week-to-week basis to make sure they're putting the right effort forward and the best foot forward in practices and things like that. And he's only going to be more emboldened by his continued level of high play because that gives him the credibility to be able to challenge guys like that. The other name is going to be, for me, DeMarvion Overshown. Overshown doesn't quite have any he doesn't have any stripes just yet because he was redshirted last year. But I watch Overshown in the locker room. I watch how he moves. I watch Overshown on the practice field. I watch how he moves. I watch him in the building. I watch how he moves. This is not only and Longhorns fans can attest to this, as fun-loving as Overshown is, at the same time, he is very vocal. He is very, very in tune with what his defense is doing and helping guys get in the right spots. So I think that between Tyler Smith and DeMarvion Overshown, once Overshown starts getting those stripes under his belt, as far as like reps and making plays and potential Pro Bowls and things like that, I think those are going to be your two guys, your one on offense, one on defense, that kind of have to step up in the unlikely event that you're without Dak Prescott, and then in the post-Demarcus Lawrence era, things like that. So those are going to be my top two guys as we have this conversation.
That's uncanny, man. Those are the same exact two names I have here, and DeMarvion Overshown was number one. That was the first one that popped up because I remember his rookie year. I said this to myself, and you were around him a lot more than me, but I saw him at camp, right, and then I saw him kind of galvanize the entire unit before a preseason game. I'm like, this is a rookie. And he had, I think Dak was looking at him. He had veterans looking at him. And obviously, they probably let the rookie do that, before that game because it's preseason and whatnot. And then I got a chance to speak with him briefly and just kind of, he has an aura about him. I often say this about Demo. I often say, hey, man, whatever it is that they decide to do with him, whatever challenges presented to him, I feel like he'll figure it out because he just has that aura about him. So for me, is Demo. And when you talk about, replacing Zach Martin, I had the same thing here. Tyler Smith. I feel like Tyler is a bit more vocal. He's not afraid to speak out in the media as well. But I'm going to take this answer or this question and layer it a little bit here. He said, Micah and CD are non-vocal leaders. When you listen to them two talk earlier in the offseason, they talked about actually being more vocal during game day. Now, I can't really see CD breaking out of that just quite yet, but I do think it'll be interesting to keep our eye on Micah during the game because there's leadership Monday through Saturday, which that's Dak and D-Law and Zach Martin. Then there's game day vocal leadership. I don't really look at Dak, D-Law, and Zach Martin as game day vocal rah-rah type guys. I don't see that. But Micah brought up, hey, there needs to be someone that when the going gets tough, raises the spirit of the team. I don't think you're going to see Micah be a leader Monday through Sunday. Not yet. He's still very young and very, I don't want to use the term immature, but he's 24, 25 years old, right? He's still immature in that sense. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's quite there yet. But when he brought up the whole leadership, it was about being vocal on game day when things get rough. Because think about it. Who is that guy? You would say it was J-Ron, but J-Ron didn't play good last year. So it was really hard to be like, yeah, let's follow a guy who arguably is the third or fourth best safety right now on the team. So I just say that to say, let's keep an eye on Micah Parsons during the game and see if he can become that this year. If not this year, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I think when it comes to Micah, everybody needs to get out of their head the expectation that he's going to be a vocal leader in the locker room or on the practice field. He's going to lead by example as far as production is concerned. When it comes to in-game situations, I'm right there with you in wondering, what level of frustration will it take for Micah to start barking at guys, okay, as opposed to kind of shutting down and internalizing and actually getting in guys' faces and pulling a Leighton Vander Esch, for example, pulling a Sean Lee, for example. But until we see that from Micah, we haven't seen it from Micah. But we have seen, even if it's just through the collegiate career of Demo and then combine that with what I've been seeing with him demeanor-wise in practices and things like that, training camp last year, for those that were out there at training camp, his preseason games before he went down against the Seahawks with the torn ACL, Demo has that Sean Lee gene. He has that Leighton Vander Esch gene where it's like, listen, as a defense, this is not acceptable. The standard is the standard, and we need to play up to the standard. And I believe that defensively, and that's fine with me with it coming from a linebacker because that's the heart of your defense. So if it comes from the heart of the defense, I would love for it to come from other places as well. I would love for it to come from, the defensive end in the post-Demarcus Lawrence era, whenever that might happen. I would love for it to come from Sam Williams once he gets, those particular stripes. And I believe that in a couple years, we'll be having this conversation about seeing Marshawn kneeling because don't let that smile fool you. He's going to let some guys know when they're not in the right place or doing the right thing, but not quite yet. But I don't think the not quite yet applies to DeMarvion Overshown. I think he's going to go out there, play some high-quality football, and maybe as early as the back end of the season, you'll see him constructively challenging maybe some veterans and saying, hey, let's try this or let's try that. So I think Demo for defense and Tyler Smith for offense.
I agree with what you said there quickly, and we'll move on. Linebacker and or safety really should be the leader of the defense, specifically vocally, because those are the guys that either A are the green dot or they're the ones putting guys in position. Hardly ever do you see a defensive lineman as your overall vocal leader / green dot guy. That's just not normal because those guys literally can't see behind them. They aren't getting guys set. They aren't the ones directing things. They aren't the quarterbacks of the defense. So I would love for it to be Demo. If not, maybe one of the safety guys. But from on the position, say D-Law in the room, yeah, he's that guy right now because he's the veteran. But when he leaves, I think that's where Mike will have to pick up that mantle. Final question.
And I'll add this really quickly.
Sorry.
I'll add this real quick before we get to the final question. I know that question was for 25 and beyond, but for 24, draw a circle around Eric Kendricks because he is not kidding around. And I'll leave it at that. He is not kidding around.
And I think guys should absolutely be everyone, not every single, even D-Law, including him, should be following him because he knows this defense at the back of his hand. He's been around. He's been to the top as one of the best players in the league. I mean, so I will 100% be getting behind number 50. Final question. From Cowboys 46. He says the 2023 draft class was a disappointment, but who do you think has the best chance to break out as an impact player in year 2?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. We do the segue thing kind of well, right? The answer is the Marvion Overshown.
Hey, here we go.
That's the answer. If the Marvion Overshown doesn't go down with that torn ACL, he's not only probably one of the better players on the Cowboys defense last year, but far and away he's the best player in that 2023 draft class. Redshirted, unfortunately, but he used that opportunity while he was rehabbing his knee to put on the right amount of muscle mass. He's bigger. That means he can be more physical. But based on what I've seen in OTAs and minicamp, he has not lost any speed, has not lost any quickness. His football instinct is absolutely still as high as it ever was. So he mentioned that it might have been a blessing in disguise because he used that injury to build up his upper body even more. So maybe so. That being said, all signs point to as long as the Marvion Overshown can avoid suffering any setbacks, and he's been doing fantastic, by the way. He is on track to participate in training camp, potentially all of training camp, but we'll see if he escapes the PUP list first. But once he gets through that rookie learning curve, because for him it will be a rookie learning curve at one of the harder positions to play in the league, but he gets to learn it behind and alongside a guy like Eric Kendricks. He gets to get information and knowledge and mentorship from a guy like Damone Clark. And maybe even Damian Wilson. Again, we don't know that Damian Wilson is going to make the team. However, his experience and being able to impart that upon a guy like the Marvion Overshown is going to be priceless and invaluable. So for me, looking down the list, Schoolmaker he's dealing with another injury now, right, with the hamstring. His body is not, playing nice, for lack of a better way to say it, in his first couple of seasons to start with the Cowboys. Junior Fehoko, we don't know what's there because he didn't earn a single snap in year 1, and the list goes down from there. Eric Scott, Cowboys traded up to get him. He looks great, looks ready, but he's going to have to compete in a big way. I don't know that he's necessarily head-to-head with Kalen Carson because Eric Scott's going to be rotational behind Jordan Lewis. Kalen Carson, though he can play all 3 positions at cornerback, he's a boundary guy to start and until further notice, per my eyes and per Al Harris. So Eric Scott, what do you have there? You don't know yet. So the list goes on and on as far as we don't know. And then you have the Marvion Overshown where it's like, oh, we know, we're just waiting. And this will likely be it.
100. I'm going to touch on that a little bit with the chat here as we let you go to get on with your busy day, man. Appreciate you as always coming through for the Scientific Method, big bro. And we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Fun as always, man. Beware Mom Dukes at the front door.
Indeed. It's our guy, Patrick No C. Walker, joining us for this week's version of the Scientific Method. I'm telling you, man. Mom Dukes strike the fear in my heart to a certain point. And I said this to y'all before, at a certain point, though, let me get your dad. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll wrap to y'all in the chat. And, man, look, I'll leave the lines open here for a little bit if y'all want, but we're going to wrap this thing up pretty quickly today. So if we get no calls, we'll talk to y'all for a little bit, and we'll hang out for a little bit, I should say, and then we'll be on our merry way, man.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
That was the most electrifying sports mailbag segment in all of the land. Good stuff from our guy Patrick No C Walker. The question, though, at the end, he talked about, or the, I guess, viewer asked who could be the standout or who could have the breakout performance in year two. I definitely agree. I think it is the Marvion Overshown. I think he has a chance to be the guy opposite of Eric Kendricks, which that's a nice competition there, man, with Demo, Marius Leofau, and Clark. You know, whoever wins that competition or that battle, I think will be better for it during the season. But I think it'll be Demo, and maybe it won't be Demo for quite some time. But the player that I personally think is going to have the most opportunities, and look, we're not going to like the name, but a little bit of politics plays into this. I feel like it's going to be Schoonmaker. Not that I feel like Schoonmaker is going to have that breakout year, but he's going to be given the opportunity to. You could argue, obviously, Mozzie Smith, too, being a first-round pick, but that position takes a lot of time. He's lost a lot of weight. That's a big, fat question mark. But I feel like they're going to try to push this Schoonmaker thing. I do. Even though I believe that there's a real-life competition at tight end, too, that should be had. I feel like they should let all those dudes break the pool stick and fight for it. I don't know if that's going to be the case because, let's be honest, politics plays a factor a little bit in every case, but a lot of it here. So I got Demo being the guy, but I feel like Schoonmaker will be given opportunities, just like he was last year. Will he take advantage of those opportunities? That's a totally different question. My confidence is not high in the guy, but I hope he can get healthy. I hope he can improve in year two and be a viable part of this offense. But I am intrigued with the guys behind him, per se, right? I'm intrigued in that competition. I would love to see other guys get an opportunity and to beat him out. And if he doesn't, then that means he became tight end 2 because he won tight end 2, not because he was given tight end 2. All right, we did get a caller, a couple of them. So I'll laugh because we got one caller we'll get to here at the end. Let's 205. Not familiar with 205, but what's good with you?
What's going on, Scott?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. So my question is, do you think Sam Williams will actually get playing time? And I know him personally. I mean, we grew up. He called me up. And I think that he's going to have a breakout year, and I just think that our defense is going to be a lot better than most people expect. What do you think?
Oh, I think he's 100% going to get a ton of playing time, more than he's ever have in his first 2 years. Because, like we talked about the other day, you lost 2 quality veteran, depth guys, and you didn't necessarily replace them with more veteran guys. And Mike McCarthy said because you lost them, Sam Williams is first up. So I 100% think Sam will get a lot of playing time. I think he should have a even more productive year because of that. But can he be sort of a hump player in that sense? Can he be a guy that is dynamic, is a playmaker of sorts? That's what I'm looking to see. And I think it starts between the ears. If he matures between the ears and takes on to this coaching with Zim, he has all the talent in the world to be an impact player. And your other question was, or not question, you said you think the defense will be better than what people think. I think Zim is definitely going to have this defense playing good ball, disciplined ball. It may take a step back in certain areas. It may not look like it used to. You may not have 34 turnovers, but there'll be more discipline. My only drawback that has me not really praising it to a certain level is what the hell are we doing on defensive tackle? If they don't do anything there, that could be the house of cards situation where you touch it and everything falls because you didn't improve in the middle.
That makes a lot of sense. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking my call.
No problem. Great call. Great question. Let's get to 954. What's good, 954? Uh-oh. 954, turn your house down, right? And then listen to me through the phone if you can. Uh-oh. 954. Okay, we'll come back to 954. Figuring things out. Let's get to 270. What's good, 270?
Much, brother. Listen to you while I work like normal. First time calling in. I ain't too much worried about the defensive side, but I wanted to bring up a question to you on the offensive side. With our lack of, number one running back in the running room, do you see Mike McCarthy running a lot of like twin running back shotgun sets to maybe alleviate that a little bit? Maybe a Deuce Vaughn and Ezekiel Elliott?
Like 21 personnel? I don't think we did a whole lot of that last year with two halfbacks. What I would like to see him do is kind of dip back into his Green Bay, and I know that's old school-ish, where you have the fullback and he's actually being used. If we're going to run two backs, there's my two ways to do it. Yeah, a Deuce Vaughn type where maybe you motion him out the backfield. Now he has a one-on-one in the slot with the linebacker. Or you have the fullback, lead blocking for these backers, or you play action and get Lipke involved, out the backfield catching because we know he can do that. So that's how I see them using it if they do. But I don't know if we have much history of McCarthy doing it. Now he could evolve. Maybe he evolves into a guy who uses two halfbacks, but I don't remember him doing it much.
Well, that was my question. I could see like maybe an Ezekiel Elliott, seeing how he's more of a power back and a great pass blocker. He can also catch out of the backfield, and then you got a Deuce Vaughn who's shifty, got a little juice, and can also catch out of the backfield.
Yeah,
I just thought that was a little food for thought there.
No, it's a great thought, and it's a way to kind of mitigate not having that lead guy. It's a little too cute for my taste if you're leaning on it too much. I think it should be something you throw a curveball at, but you don't have that lead guy, and I don't know if they're going to go out and get one.
Buddy, we can only hope so. So maybe we'll get us a defensive tackle, and I'll be really happy with that. Have all the faith in the world in mind.
That's the last piece I'm waiting for, brother. That's the last one. Appreciate the call, though, man.
You and me, brother. All right, you have a good one, brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I am something I'll be watching at camps and with the video footage and whatnot. And I was duped a little bit last year, and that's my fault because maybe it meant nothing. But when they were working not off to the sides, but half fields, there was a group, and it was mostly the quarterbacks, running backs, a couple offensive linemen, just to simulate things. They were running 21. They would have TP and who was it? Deuce, right? They'd have Rico and Deuce, and I'm like, maybe we'll throw some of that out there, but we didn't see a whole lot of that. We saw some of it with Kellen. Kellen Moore ran some 21, and I was always like, hey, why can't we do this more? Numbers-wise, it wasn't great, but I don't think creativity-wise it was great either. So do I see that happening? Not really, but it could be a way to mitigate not having that lead guy. I look over here in the chat. I see B. Bird just dropped 2. He said, do the June 1st cuts seem lighter this year? June 1st cuts. B. Bird, I think we're thinking of two things here. So there's a June 1st, you get money. June 1st cuts are usually done back in March, before free agency. So I would have to go back to March and see who was given the axe and labeled a June 1st cut. Most of those happen then, so teams can get the money for free agency to sign guys. Now, if you say, are the June 1st signings light? I think that's something that you see these guys be signing camp. If that makes sense, B-Bird. I think teams aren't cutting guys on June 1st. They cut them in March and in April, but mostly March, and they label them June 1st. That way that they can, those players can go sign with other guys, and those teams can get the money after June 1st. So I'm not sure how many dudes were designated June 1st cuts back in March. And Dallas, at least Dallas-wise, I don't know if you're speaking Dallas or the whole league, not many signings are happening now. And I get that, right? Like, unless you're in the UFL, a lot of free agents and a lot of teams are just like, well, let's get to camp. Let's see what happens in camp, see what we got. And a lot of players are like, look, I'm chilling. Somebody's going to get hurt, and I'll get signed. Definitely if you are a veteran. Does that make sense there for you? It's not, usually June 1st they're cutting these dudes. They're cut way before that. All right, we lost the other guy. I think he was trying to figure some things out, but we did not lose Magic City Mod. What's good with you, man?
What up, family? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good.
What's
I've
on
been
your
watching your show lately. Yeah. Oh, what's on my mind is why they ain't made no. You got to remember there's a lot of deep tackles on every team. I know you was gonna check that out. If you look at Washington team and the Cleveland team, there's no way they're gonna be able to keep them deep tackles. Just like Dan Quinn is waiting for us to cut some of them corners and safety on our team. So it's gonna be a tit for tat everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
You think Dan Quinn finna cut some of those DTs? Let me see.
Oh, you're not gonna have like 6 or 7 deep tackles.
Yeah, they got Payne. They got Payne and Allen. They got Newton, the second round pick, Ridgeway, and this dude Mathis. So 1, 2, 3. They got about 4. I don't know who their backup dudes is though. Like who's this Benning?
Yeah,
Poetize. He looks like he's a 3-tech guy.
Because I know Cleveland got a lot of big 1-tech. They got a lot of them too.
Cleveland. Let's go see. Let me go take a look at Cleveland.
Yeah, see what they got. See what they got right quick.
Dalvin Thomason, Shelby Harris Harris still playing, huh? He a 3-tech. Mike Hall, is that the Michigan kid? Mike Hall, so. He was a 3-tech.
They gonna keep him.
They signed Quentin Jefferson. I kind of wanted Quentin Jefferson. I thought he'd have been a good fit here under. Oh, they got this. Was it Psyche Ika? Remember the dude from Baylor?
Yeah,
they got a big boy now. Now. Listen, I don't know how much tick he got last year, but I'll be willing to send him a 2025 7th round pick to get. Am I saying this right? Siaki Ika, that's his name.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Yeah.
Oh yeah, bro. Wait a minute now. Yeah. I'll be interested in Siaki Ika. Let me see what he did last year. Just because he's a big body. He go like 340. He didn't do too much last year, though. He didn't play a whole lot. He only played 4 games. So
he should be in that manly body. What about your boy that you had, Big 92 from New England? I thought he was a free
Devin Gottschall. Yeah, that was back when I thought they were going to be a little bit more aggressive. Problem is, Gottschall has a hefty price tag, so they would have to take hefty for the Cowboys. They would have to take on some of that money. I don't know if they would, but I would have liked Gottschall, but the Cowboys aren't going to pay a lot for that guy.
No. They ain't going to do that.
That's why I like the Siaki Ika thing, because he's on a rookie deal and he go about 360. I mean, he almost 360 pounds. I mean, just throw him in the middle and just take up blocks.
That's all he needs to do. Just don't get pushed 10 yards back.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to do. And then they going to run it on that tight end set. Like you say, that like throwing down the seam. You know what I'm saying? So, them seam throws. So if they get another tight end that can do that, that'll make them more dangerous.
I think they got one. I think 2 dudes, actually, 2 young guys. The span forward kid, I think, could be a seam breaker. I think he's a better contested catch guy than Schoon. And then Stevens Jr., who's a former wide receiver as well. I think those 2 guys can be seam breakers for sure. Where, look, again, I'm not trying to rag on Schoon because Schoon, he's supposed to be the blocker type. He showed a little something at Michigan from time to time, but I wouldn't really say he's a seam guy type dude. I think he's more of a look, he ain't Jason Witten, but let's catch the rock 10 yards and in and just get what you can get and get down. That's kind of how I view him. Old Witten. Let me say that. Old Witten type.
Yeah. And then the Mozzie, I don't want to rush him back if he's not ready. Or he gonna look, or he gonna even look even stupider. You know what I'm saying? Stupid.
Yeah, brother.
This guy got
I'm putting Mozzie like over here, Marv. Like I just gotta wait, see him at camp. How did he get? Is he back up to like 310, 315? How is he taking on this new scheme and things like that? It's just unfortunately because of the weight loss, because of the surgery, new defense coordinator. It's a lot going on. I just gotta put him right here, Mozzie. Let's see what happens once we get to camp in August, because I don't think he'll start off in July. I just don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but but I know there's gonna be a lot of cuts. So somebody from another team gonna be on this team. But I know they might. The boy from Minnesota.
The conference has been locked.
Used to play with because he played good for Buffalo last year. The big guy, 340. The guy that played for Buffalo.
Defensive tackle?
That came from D tackle.
Linval Joseph.
Philly. Yeah. That's who they waiting for.
Well, he a free agent.
That's that's what I'm saying. He's a free agent. That's the guy I think they're gonna have on the team.
So with a guy like Linval Joseph, I think you have to sign someone else too. He's an older dude, and you don't want to don't do what you did with Hank, where it was like you signed Hank. Hank was supposed to be a part of rotation, but because you didn't have a rotation, Hank had to hold this thing down himself, and you kind of saw Hank not be able to dominate, down in, down out, week in, week out. And I don't blame him. He was a veteran dude that probably should have been in tandem with another dude. Instead, they said, "Hey, Mozzie, we're going to do 3 tech things with you instead of the 1 tech thing." So it was just really strange.
Yeah.
So Linval Joseph, you have to pair him with another guy.
Yeah, we need another guy.
Yeah.
But I want to see what's going to make Rodgers. We going to see a lot of when they go in the. Now, if our center start BB with the 2 big boys, they're going. Woo! You're going to see how really good you are.
In closing, Marv, my what do you call like a fantasy lineup or what have you over the next 3 seasons, right? Starting in 2025. Tyler Smith, left guard. Cooper Beebe, center. Nathaniel Thomas, right guard. Oh, dog. You want to talk about power. You're talking 330, 320, 335, just pure power and athleticism in regards to, I think Nathaniel Thomas and Tyler Smith are athletic in that sense. I would love if those guys just take reins of the interior moving forward. And obviously you drafted Young Buck and left tackle, so you got him for 5 years at the very least. And then Terrence is on a deal. So, if we can get those guys to have at least 2 seasons together, I feel really good about the prospects of the line 2025 and beyond.
Yeah.
Nate Thomas is the left. Well, he was a tackle. I guess now he's the guard out of Louisiana.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah, somebody asked who he was.
Number 66 too.
Yeah, TJ Bass. If TJ Bass can be my, I would like Nate. I just like Nate at the point of attack. I like his strength. I would hope he takes the reign. But I would like to keep TJ Bass around for depth too. And if he takes over, that's fine. But my dream scenario is Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Nate Thomas.
Yeah, that's beef in the middle. You cannot push that.
Yeah.
You cannot push that back.
You can't.
Because I watched the tape on Beyonce and he was getting killed.
He was. He was.
He
man.
was getting killed.
He was. Hey Marv, I'm gonna take this last call. Keep it moving though, brother, and change your fire thing, bro. Your smoke detector.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. We don't want nothing happening to you, bro. Appreciate you.
All right. Yeah. Shalom.
Shalom. Let's wrap this thing up with our guy, LA. What's good with you?
Man, I can't call it, man. I am in these streets wrapping up a ride right now. And now I was listening to what you had going on, sir. And wanted to congratulate you once again. The scientific method is a smash success, sir.
Thank you, man. I'm honored and grateful to be able to have Pat on like this weekly. I think it's amazing, and I don't take it for granted.
No worries. Well, it's fantastic to include it in what you have going on, my man.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
Give me 1 second. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Yeah, man. So happy Juneteenth, even though it's not Juneteenth anymore.
Hey, we can still celebrate it.
And in the spirit of keeping everything going. What was that?
We can still celebrate it, though.
Yeah, right? Like, because we're keeping this thing going all the way through the December 29th on my birthday. She's probably going to give me a bad rating. I'm driving Uber right now. Ooh. And I called in. I'm dropping off a ride right now. It's fine. She had like 30 seconds left. And look, I've got like 14,000 rides on the platform. I'm not worried about one rating.
She gonna hit you with one of her reviews. Yeah, he was talking to some guy, some Skywalker still. I don't know what that was about. Right. 1 star.
He was skywalking. He's probably like my grandchildren and trying to plant flowers. That's probably exactly what she was thinking.
Well, how about this? Get through.
I had my morning blessing this morning.
Get through with your question. I got you.
Right. So, needless. So with Jerry Jones saying, you know, with the quote that mainstream always wants to play with the all in, you know, addressing the A gap is a really big deal, man. Like I'm feeling like as long as we stay healthy, and their projections on how they've decided to fill the roster back up, you know, and we should have a shot. We should have a decent shot, you know, for you know, especially with the special guys that we got. If our special guys are special, then we should have a really good shot this year. You know, not that necessarily we're going to go 16-0, but you know, you definitely want to see dudes turn the corner. And if them 2 Michigan guys that we took last year can ever turn into guys, you know, and going into camp, I'm really curious to see if them fuckers can turn the corner. So there is no real question. I just wanted to again kind of poo-poo on them Michigan dudes who've been subpar thus far.
Hey, Bars. Yeah, if we can get if they can turn a corner in year 2, which again I don't have high prospects on that, but if they can do that, that would definitely help us because the Cowboys are a top heavy team right now, and it's the depth that we're kind of looking at, saying, all right, we need the depth to kind of step up because they were a deep team last year and they lost a good bit of depth, so we'll see what happens, man.
Right.
Appreciate you, though,
well,
LA.
The depth is fine, man, because now say what?
No, go ahead. My bad. In closing.
Yeah. In closing, like the depth is going to be a fair little trade-off, man. Because again, when we get to see that depth that we had on these other rosters, and we get to run through it, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be mutually beneficial, or it's going to make me feel good, not mutually beneficial.
Fair enough. Not every team
just beneficial for us.
Is deep. Yeah, fair.
Right. But I will let you get back to it, bro. Thanks for letting me on the show, fam.
Yes, sir, man. Hey,
I got my Roadcaster. I'm picking up my Roadcaster Duo tomorrow.
There you go. I'm telling you, man, it's the greatest thing if you're doing any of this type of content.
I took your advice, sir. Thank you.
No problem, brother. Good luck on the pod journey.
Yeah, take it easy up.
It's our guy, LA, man. Hopefully the lady don't give LA a 1-star rating. He's just trying to talk Cowboys, man. He's just doing what he love. That's all. We just doing what we love. If you love the show, please, on your way out, hit that like button. I saw in the chat, shouts out to the bro in the building. Man, I ain't saying I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just excited for my brother Vach. Somebody said, where'd you go? Was it Big Mex? Vach and Sky, we need some more content together, please. Y'all are the greatest tag team in content history. Ah, man, I appreciate that. And with that, I just say, be patient. It's coming. I'm just saying. No. Ah, man. I'm just saying, Big Mex. I know I keep telling you how to be patient on a lot of things, but I'm being serious. You know, I don't like to just do things willy nilly. Neither do me and the people I roll with. Okay, we want to make sure things are right. So when this does get rolling, it is special, even more special. So just be patient, brother. Just be patient. Toxic said on the verge of hiring a PI to find. All right, I know this is gonna sound crazy. I thought that said AI, right? And this is how my brain works. We in overtime. Another one of the legends, Law Nation. Did y'all see Law Nation's AI? Hey, Law, Law is such a goat, bro, because he's like the Undertaker, or who changes their Jericho, Chris Jericho. He Chris Jericho over the years, he just knows how to move with the times and change his character. Law Nation. He said, "Oh, we doing AI? Bet. Hold my beer." The AI Law Nation is unbelievable. I'm sitting here listening, and I didn't realize it was AI Law Nation. It says it right there, but I didn't read that part. And I'm like, bro, why Law sound robotic? What's happening here? Oh, how did he do that? So I think it's just pretty cool, man. Law know how to change with the times. Hilarious. Sting he still does the crow thing, you know what I mean? But Y2J, he know how to change with the times, man. Time for him to start wrapping it up, though, You said Law was sounding like Quiet Storm DJ. That was wild, man. Because I scrolled, I just let it play, and I'm listening. I'm like, nah, this is somebody impersonating my guy? What? Then I read in this AI, and I just thought it was dope. The Joker's thing was wild. TNA. Yeah. TNA was wild. But to me, I think a Sting, my favorite Sting, I know this might not be popular. Surfer Sting. Surfer Sting, Crow Sting, those are Sting to me. I don't really look at too many other Stings. Where Undertaker, he was obviously the dead man coming out. Then, the corporate, situation where it was a corporate ministry. Then obviously the badass, and he came back as a dead man. But I like to use Y2J because Y2J didn't have a character in that sense like Undertaker. You can only do so many things. Y2J, man, from his first moment in WWE up until right now in AEW, he just was able to change with the times and come up with different gimmicks that all the way to you just made the list. Like who has that gimmick and makes it work? Only a guy like Y2J, one of the greats of all time. AI Sky would start on time. Yeah, he would. Not me. All right, like I said, man, if you enjoyed today's show, had a good one, please hit that like button on the way out. I agree, Lennox. I think he's goated. The Crow is WCW goated, but the Surfer Sting, man, what a legend. What an absolute legend. Cultaholic, I think I know who they are. They got a YouTube dip, right? Covers wrestling, and Buddy was wearing a Cowboys hat. Future collab. Possibly. There's some, I'm not privy to say at the moment, but like I said, things are happening behind the scenes. And I do think at some point, hopefully, we'll be able to do some things with some of these top end wrestling podcasts. But the number one thing I got to do is figure out how to manage said time, because I got my hands in all these different things and I got to realize, whoop, there's only one me. So figure that out. Once I do, it's a wrap for y'all, bro. It's a wrap. The Who Killed WCW, I have not watched the episodes yet. I'm waiting for them to build up and then run them through. But I've watched so many documentaries on WCW. But I'm always down for more. I love wrestling docs. Love them. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and press this button, man.
Push the goddamn button.
Push the goddamn button.
It is my Friday. Won't be back tomorrow. We'll be traveling, but I will be back next week. All right? So with that, I say, please have a good weekend. A safe weekend. I'm going to go ahead and go back and watch this K-Dot joint. We out here. Lay off. Peace. Hey, Captain, if you want to get on the plane for me, you're more than welcome to. between the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian are goated. Goated.